And here we go again with Here We Go Again. This has been a month of remakes and requels, and tonight is no exception. I'm here with Earth's Mightiest critics to discuss one of the most surprising movies I've seen all year, The Naked Gun. Not The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad from 1988, although we will be talking about that as well. Specifically, Akiva Schaffer directed a new version of The Naked Gun, the classic spoof movie from starring Leslie Nielsen, directed by and co-written by David Zucker of Airplane fame and Police Squad fame. Well, he was not involved in this new one. It was a completely new crew, and in fact, he was, from my understanding, unceremoniously shut out from developing this new film, which is pretty unfortunate. But what is surprising is that Schaffer and company, under the executive production of Seth MacFarlane, have created a film that is in the spirit of those original Naked Gun movies. When I first saw the trailer and even heard about this new version, I was skeptical because it looked like, okay, here's going to be a new millennium take on classic comedy. And we've seen some of those misfires in the past, but I'm happy to say that in my not so humble opinion, this is a perfect sequel. Now, it doesn't mean it's a perfect movie. It doesn't mean it's a perfect comedy, but I think it achieves what it needs to achieve without being too redundant. And also, in the same way that I felt about Fantastic Four First Steps a couple weeks ago, I'm fine with this being the movie and no other Naked Gun modern spinoffs or sequels. But we're going to talk about all of the Naked Gunness with Earth's Mightiest critics who are here tonight. We're going to get into spoilerific detail after we get some high-level opinions going. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Just got a message. Don is not going to be able to make it tonight. So I'll just do his introduction in absentia. Not joining us tonight is Don Shanahan of Every Movie Has a Lesson and Film Obsessive and too many other projects to name. But also we have Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front. How do you know that? You don't, because I haven't put up anybody's names or banners, any of that stuff. I'm still getting used to this new StreamYard, so apologies. There we go. So the blonde in front, Katie, there you go. You still want 4 more, please. I think that's the leftover banner from Fantastic Four, but maybe you want more Naked Guns. Is that true?
You know what? When I looked to change that, it didn't let me change it because I was going to put the blonde in front, don't call me Shirley. And I went down to try and change it and it wasn't there. So
now you can change it if you want.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want 4 more of this one. But I'm good with 1 and done.
Excellent. All right. Well, next up we have Mike Crowley of You'll Probably Agree, aka YPA Reviews. How you doing, Mike?
I am good. I'm happy to talk about this movie. It was a surprise to me as well. I wasn't entirely skeptical. Like the trailer kind of made me optimistic, and then the casting of Liam Neeson made me optimistic. And yeah, I was happy that something actually I was looking forward to turned out to be pretty good.
Excellent. All right. And last but certainly not least, we have the man, the myth, the legend, opera sensation, Enrico Palazzo, who in his day job goes by Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room Podcast. How you doing, Mr. Palazzo?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. How you doing? Yes, thank you. That was a very much a Rick Moranis answer from Ghostbusters. I love it. Okay, well, let's see what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're talking about we'll start at the beginning, I guess, with the Naked Gun 1988. I loved that movie when I was 12 years old or 11. Yeah, it was like 11, 12 when I saw it. My dad took me to see it. I kind of grew up on Airplane, and I never watched Police Squad. He was a big fan of it for the 6 episodes it was on, but he was really excited to take me to see this. And I was like, okay. So laughed hysterically, didn't understand half the jokes, but I still got caught up in the vibe of the movie. And it's one of those great comedies where there's a million jokes a minute. And even if you don't get them, you will, even decades later, something will flash in your head like, I get it now. Mm-hmm. But watching it again last week in preparation for this movie, for the 2025 version, I was very relieved to find that it not only holds up, it's still really damn funny.
Mhm.
And it's about police detective Frank Drebin, who's the head of a special unit of the LAPD, I guess, called Police Squad. And one of his agents, Nordberg, played by O.J. Simpson, is infiltrating a ship on the docks, and he comes across some shady business, and Ricardo Montalban shows up as the film's heavy, and there's all sorts of crazy business involving mind control devices and heroin and gosh knows what else. It's hard to keep the plot of these movies straight because these movies really aren't about the plots. They're about the gags and the kind of the homages to detective shows and things like that, and everything being played straight. And oh my goodness, there's so much to point at and laugh at. We could do an entire 3 hours just like flashing back on the sight gags of the original Naked Gun, but we're not going to do that. There were 2 sequels in 91 and 94. Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult. I don't remember anything about that except Robert Goulet was the villain in the second movie.
Mhm.
And then Anna Nicole Smith featured heavily in the third. That's all I remember. But let's just talk about The Naked Gun. Is it a beloved comedy here on the panel, or is there anybody who perhaps didn't see it and they were at the impressionable age of 11 and thought, it's okay?
I've had sort of the same experience where I was a kid and I loved it. And the great thing about The Naked Gun, like you said, is that it's a comedy that has so many jokes. It's like finding Easter eggs when you watch the movie. Every time you watch it, you go, oh, there's another one. There's another one. I didn't get that before. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't get the whole pap smear joke. And then, of course, as an adult, I go, oh, that's the villain's name. That's funny. And yeah, I mean, throughout the years, it's grown. It's a comedy where, especially with this one, I really liked the new Naked Gun and as well as the classic ones because they're lighthearted and they're well-spirited, where we're kind of like trapped in an age now where like every comedy is extremely mean-spirited and it's filled with characters like always insulting each other. And like, yeah, there's some cynical jokes in here about police brutality and stuff like that, but it works really well. And yeah, I mean that movie, and whenever I'm like sad or anything, I'll put on The Naked Gun, and oh my god!
Nice.
And yeah, and it'll make me feel better. Great coffee gag, yeah, but it makes me feel great. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, that was it.
Okay. All right. It is definitely a pick me up, as is coffee. Mark, how about you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I will stand by and I will stand on the hill that say the 80s still was the prime age of parody and satire. Whether or not it was the Zucker brothers or whether or not it was Mel Brooks, they got it. I mean, and Naked Gun, watching it again, because I watched it, I revisited it for this film, for this panel. I watched it after I watched the new one. It's been a while since I've seen it, but the one thing, and I know we'll get to the new one, but the one thing that the Zucker brothers, when it was Zucker, and Abrams, not when Zucker, one of the Zuckers was by himself, it kind of tapered off after the Scary Movie was like the last kind of Scary Movie to kind of, it started to fade. You could tell you were missing that trio. I imagine this trio sat in a room and bounced ideas off each other constantly for the script, because we got parodies like this Naked Gun, Files from the Police Squad. We got Airplane. No one talks about it, but they should. Top Secret, where you got these, like you said, Ian, you got these parodies, these satires that you got what they were making fun of, and they worked some cultural references into it, but not as many as you might think. So they hold up, but the jokes just bam, 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 bam. You're too busy laughing at one, and there's already 2 others that have dropped. I mean, Airplane especially. Airplane busts my gut every single time, and it is just hilarious if you watch per minute how many jokes come at you in Airplane. I mean, they just fire off. They're unapologetic. They don't hold back, and they're not afraid. They just bam, 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 bam. And if not all of them hit, that's okay, because you got 2 more coming up that'll make you laugh, you know. And in the original, it's like my favorite stuff of the Zuckers, especially when it involves Leslie Nielsen, is the play on words.
Mm-hmm.
The play on wordplay was always their strength, even more than their sight gags. I mean, to me, to this day, one of the best cinematic gags of all time was an Airplane with his drinking problem. Talk about something you never would think of as a gag, but that works, you know. Or in Naked Gun, you know, you've got those literal word takes that you don't think of until they happen on screen, and then you laugh because you're like, oh my god, there. You know?
Mark, I don't know if I've shared this before, but going back to Airplane, the drinking problem gag,
yes,
where Ted Stryker was constantly having flashbacks to the war, and, you know, plane crashes involving, like, you know, the Wright brothers and things.
Yeah.
But when he talked about his drinking problem, he would constantly just be throwing drinks on himself. He could never get the liquid into his mouth. And
Right.
that was wonderful. For decades. Well, okay, maybe a decade. I thought that's what a drinking problem was. Because my dad, being the straight man, would never explain what a drinking problem actually was.
Sure.
Possibly, but because he was an angry alcoholic himself.
Oh.
But that's a whole different story. And also, going back to something you referenced, Top Secret, almost said
Yes.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Something I think it was either you or Joe Randazzo pointed out in our Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at one of the famous gags from Top Secret is when Val Kilmer and the French resistance friend encounter her father or uncle. He's got the giant magnifying glass, and he's holding it up, and it turns out that's just his face. That was an actual gag from some thriller in which he, you know,
which Peter Cushing was in. Yeah,
right, and that was like the poster image. I never knew that until like 2 days ago. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That is satire that's working on, you know, several levels deep, because I don't even know how many people contemporary to 1988 or 85, when that movie came out, would have gotten that joke. That's for like 3 people in the audience, but it's still great.
Well, and then, I mean, like in the original Naked Gun, you know, when you get that scene where he and Ed are talking about his ex, and he backs up and he runs into the luggage train, you think, oh, that's kind of funny, he backed up and drank. And then all of a sudden, while they're talking, you can kind of see it in the background, but you don't really know for sure. And then when they stop in front of the police station, he's got the whole luggage train behind him. You know, and I think that's what makes these films of, especially of the 80s, is their full commitment. I mean, they when they bring a gag, they commit to it. And that art kind of got lost over the years of committing to a gag. Like, you'd see it once and maybe not happen anymore. They ran with it, and it was great to see that carry over into the new one. But yeah, that's the original holds up. Didn't mean to take up too much, but I just love the Zuckers, and I'll watch any of those parodies over and over again, and all of them make me laugh from the 80s. You know, it was when we got into the aughts with the Not Another insert movie here or epic movie or whatnot. When you watch those, and just one more thing, I think why the satires of the 80s work, and it's not just me being get off my lawn, is because they came up with a story and then they worked the satire and the jokes into the story. Whereas later on, you would get parodies where they thought of skits and they tie them together loosely with a story. So it's like the story was second, whereas with those ones in the 70s and 80s, the story was first, and then the gags and the references get worked in.
Oh yeah, I mean, because the like Airplane was famously a direct parody of Airport 77. And so they had a film to work off. It was like a Mad Magazine parody.
Right.
In Airplane 2, I know they got into some of the other gags, like Rocky. Now back to Rocky 5000, because it takes place in the future. But to your point, past I'll call it Scary Movie 2. It was just a collection of references from other films that were stitched together in the framework of an actual movie, but a Scary Movie. And I'll even give it to Not Another Teen Movie, because that was mostly, I think, modeled on She's All That, but with the other teen comedies kind of peppered in. Those are two very strong examples of contemporary. They're 25 years old at this point, but movies that did it right. And then the subsequent sequels, that got less and less and less effective. And even, I forgot, Leslie Nielsen was in Scary Movie 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, or something like that.
I think Zucker directed 3.
He wrote it.
Oh, he wrote. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he directed, but one of the Zuckers wrote the scripts up through 4. I think 3 or 4.
Wow.
3 had a couple funny parts. One of the funniest parts was this Leslie Nielsen. They showed it in all the trailers where they think there's an alien invasion. There's a guy with the voice box who approaches him. He's like, "They're taking us now," and then they start like fighting him. But
it's been a long time since I watched any of those movies. But Katie, first of all, this is a family show, so please stop petting your beaver on the live stream.
Nice beaver.
Thanks. I just got it from AMC.
Wait, I got a question. Where does the popcorn go? Is it in its back or something, or you don't know where it is?
Yeah.
Where it goes?
No, it goes in the back. Yeah, there's a door.
There's a door in the back.
Well, you gotta be careful of which hole it. Sorry.
There's only one, dirty mouth. There's only one.
I'm just gonna, because the mouth of the, anyway. Now I know you've got it over there by the light there, the police light. This is probably the coolest drink.
Oh
I've
yeah,
seen.
yeah. That is awesome.
You should just like mount your phone to it and just like walk it through the AMC.
Oh, I know. Somebody did that actually, and I was like,
oh really?
Great. Because I didn't even know they had these. They didn't have these at our screening, which makes me mad because I would have bought them or even seen it. I didn't see the Beaver or this one, but let's talking about the '88 version. This it's briefly in the new one, but we all know from the '88 version that is what this is from. I watched that twice when I was here at my parents' house because it's streaming on, I think, Showtime, all 3 of them right now. And 88, I saw this in the theater, loved it. I'm laughing out loud, rewatching them now. Are there some problematic things in them? Yeah, little bit, especially regarding some of the police. Police information, like I mean, they're jokes, but when he says like, yeah, next time I shoot someone, I could get arrested, and it's like, yeah, there's that, and also like, hey, here's this missing evidence we found on that case. Like, I wonder what how it's like. Yeah, he was executed 2 years ago. Oh well. And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's not gonna fly now by any means, but also in the beginning of the film, I mean, you've got all of these, enemies of America and all that stuff. Again, not going to pass. That sort of thing could not hold up today, which is, watching the movie, it is all American, all stuff, and damn, the music was great. I love me, and everyone will attest to this. I love me a good 80s montage, and I really wish that some of these films, when they're trying to, recapture that feel of the 80s, I really wish they would actually do a really good montage. The newer one kind of did, but the one when Frank and Jane, after 24 hours after they've gotten together, and there's 8 wardrobe changes. 8, I counted. I actually rewound, went back. I'm like, how many different hairstyle? Okay, and this and that. It's like, I had the best day. I can't believe we met yesterday. And I'm like, see, again, that is an 80s movie. And they had that, and then I Love LA. It's like, you had the full song, and it didn't feel like it was dragging on at all. The newer one, we'll get to that. But the main thing with this, the main thing about 88, Mark, I'll give it to you. It's the commitment to the joke, but also this is the word that really hits it: delivery. Leslie Nielsen. I mean, and actually everyone, when someone says something ridiculous, sometimes it goes over. Sometimes it's like, what? And even, and especially Leslie Nielsen, when he delivers, he is like, he does it in a way that's not really gruff, but is very serious. He did that in Airplane. He does that in like most of his, in all of his films. And even when he's saying, it's like, oh, Cuban, like, no, Dutch Irish. It's like, okay. And that's something that you don't see in so many of these movies, like Sen said. It's like he gets the joke, he doesn't try and like go over it, like he's very sincere about it and stuff, and that's what just makes it so funny. And I love the fact that when, like, reading up on this, when he did pass, they had an obituary for Enrico Palazzo and for Leslie Nielsen. I'm like, that is amazing that he did that.
Wow.
And it's like, and he also was an umpire in a game. He was the only one to do a what is it? Vacuum cleaner over it.
Yeah.
Amazing things. And it's like, oh man, he would have loved that. I've always been a huge fan of Leslie Nielsen. I mean, from Airplane, but especially with Creepshow. And no offense, but he was a nice looking man. He was 62.
No offense.
Yeah, he was 62 when he did this. And the chemistry between him and Priscilla Presley, because again, Priscilla Presley, never would have known. She was fantastic. Like, she's beautiful, she's sweet, you know, she falls for Frank, you know, with that really wet and awfully wet and really hot, what is it?
It was a roast.
Roast, yeah. The wet, hot roast.
Yeah, how hot and wet do you like it? It's like, like very hot and awfully wet.
Awfully wet.
Ugh, yeah. But I mean, watching it again and again, even I like how this is a film that you don't have a lot of CGI. Like, this is before all that stuff. And even when Ricardo Montalban is like making Jane go up the stairs at the stadium, and it's obviously a fake doll.
Dummy.
No, Frank. And like all it. I mean, it's a dumb gag, but it works because it's like, it's just so ridiculous. And I just don't think that films do that much. They don't go for that like full ridiculousness. Although I will say the Velocipaster does. The Velocipaster, if you haven't seen it, that is a film that honestly, going with the Zucker brothers, all that stuff, one of my favorites of theirs is Kentucky Fried Movie.
Oh,
I feel like Velocipaster captures that humor and that ridiculousness and the acting. Because again, honestly, it's, if you don't have that delivery from Leslie Nielsen, this movie, it just wouldn't work.
Well, and he was asked, I think, in a TV interview or something about like making the transition from drama, or not even drama, but more serious roles to comedy. He said he didn't change anything. He just acted, and the material kind of was the funny part. And I think that's what, you know, whether it was Dr. Rumack and Airplane, you know, the Don't Call Me Shirley thing, that works because it's so straight.
And they were specifically told by Zuckerberg and everyone, don't play this like a comedy, play it straight. Right. And because they did that, it's way funnier. You know, for instance, I just saw The Pickup like 2 days ago. And the thing that immediately turned me off with that movie is that Pete Davidson's character is acting like he's in a sketch. And when he's doing that, I'm just going, no. It's funnier when your character doesn't know that they're being ridiculous, and that's what really sells the movie. And like, just from like George Kennedy, who was like an Oscar nominee at the time, to Leslie Nielsen, who's playing it straight, although not as straight as he did in Airplane, but still pretty straight. You really get a great ensemble here. I that's the thing I love about it. And the thing is, like, the police procedural hasn't died. There's still like CSI and Law and Order, so it still lives on, and that's why that comedy is kind of timeless.
Well, I mean, it's the classic. If you look at it to a little lesser extent, it's the classic Marx Brothers formula. Yeah. It's like you have your one joke guy, your one ridiculous character, and everybody else is normal in a regular, like, straight role, and you have him being the funny guy, and that's what makes that work. Because occasionally, like I think Katie said, and Ian both, you get those people reacting to what he's doing. He's doing the goofy stuff, and everybody else is like, and I think today that's lost on most comedies, because comedies are like, hey, look, we're doing a comedy. Whereas Airplane and, all those parody ones, as I said, it wasn't just the fact that you had a story that they worked skits into it, but it was the fact that everybody except a few characters played it straight, or played it slightly funny, but not nearly as funny as your main character. If you look at Naked Gun, what made it work is Leslie Nielsen's character, Frank Drebin, is the most ridiculous one. That's not to say everybody else doesn't have their moment to shine, but he's the one that's dropping the punchlines, and everybody else is reacting, and that's what helps add to the comedy, because you're those people laughing at Frank Drebin, and I will not disagree with Katie, but I think with the references to the jokes with the police, I think that's on purpose. I don't think it's made to make light of the situation. I think they're making fun of police even back in '88, and that was the whole point. While I get it that the jokes definitely land different, I think that was the whole point, is the ineptitude of police even back in the '80s was being made a fun of a bit with a couple of those punchlines. While they hit differently nowadays, I think that's what they were going for with that. At least it's the way I took it.
No, they definitely were making fun of the police. It's just that now we realize that there's so many things that went on. And
okay.
And the fact that it's like, oh, here's, like I said, like, here's that evidence that could have cleared that guy. Yeah. It's like, well,
okay. No, I misunderstood what you were saying. That you're right.
No. I just feel like if that would happen now, they're like, I can't believe you're making fun of that. And it's like, look, believe me, I get it. It's not, it's like, but then, I mean, we hope that it wasn't as much, even though it probably was more, but just knowing now, but no, they were definitely making fun of the police, and it was hilarious. I'm just saying that now it definitely would be, way too problematic to bring up. But like you were saying, with the straight thing, like one of my favorite parts of '88 was that whole thing, like when the mayor's chastising Drebin about killing those 5 guys. Like, well, when I see guys in togas stabbing a guy in front of 100 people, I'm going to shoot them. It's like they were doing Julius Caesar, and it's like, but he never apologizes. He never.
No.
And in the context that it was Tony Soprano's mom telling him that.
Oh man. So Naked Gun '88 is definitely one of the things I think that surprised me watching it again is that the straight-lacedness of the performances doesn't just make it funnier, but also makes some moments really touching. Like when Frank is trying to talk Jane down, because she becomes the victim of this mind control device, and she ends up pointing an Uzi at Frank in the middle of this baseball game. It's a ridiculous situation, but he steps right in front of her, and he's kind of like trying to talk her out of this trance about how much he loves her and he wants to propose to her, and his life has never been the same, and all this other stuff. It's a very sweet moment, even though it's blasted onto the Jumbotron, everyone's watching, kind of ha. But Priscilla Presley, like when she breaks and like she starts, like a little tear comes running down, and when Drebin pulls out, I'm just say when Leslie Nielsen pulls out that engagement ring, I'm like, that is so sweet. And Zucker knew not to turn that into a joke. It was a
Right.
genuinely sweet moment. And then, of course, after she comes out of it, and everything's back normal, everyone's hugging each other, and then Nordberg shows up in a wheelchair, and there's that great gag that was in the trailers where Jane is like, everyone should have a friend like you, and Nordberg is like flopping down and flipping over the stadium. It's just about a perfect comedy. I think the joke to flop ratio or the hit to flop ratio in terms of the jokes is probably like 90-95. But this new one, I think, I've only watched it the one time, and I will watch it again. Probably 80 to 85% joke, hit to flop ratio, which is still damn good for a modern comedy, kind of as we've been discussing. It's not perfect, and I think it's funny because at the press screening we were at, there's always a guy who comes out and he says, put away your phones. If we see you texting or whatever, we're going to assume you're recording. You'll be escorted out of the theater. And then he said, the first 20 minutes of this movie are amazing. I've seen this a few times. So, the first 20 minutes, you're going to love it. And I nudged the person next to me and said, so does that mean we can leave after 20 minutes? Because I had no faith that this thing was going to be anything. I was going to be painful because the trailers did not do it any kind of justice, which is a good thing. If anyone out there is watching thinking the Naked Gun commercials aren't selling me on it, that's because the top 50 jokes are not in those commercials.
Right.
Which is what a movie should do. Don't show the best jokes, in the trailer. They did show one of the best jokes, which is the O.J. Simpson joke where his son sort of goes.
But even that's kind of a surprise because the way that's set up in the trailer, you almost expect that young cop who is Nordberg's son is going to be an actual character in the movie.
And he's not. Yeah,
it's just that one and done gag.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that also after that, because I was the same way. The trailers did nothing for me. In fact, it was painful for me. My wife, on the other hand, loved the trailers. She found them quite funny. So she's looking forward to watching it when eventually it hits on streaming in probably 2 weeks, even if it's a blockbuster hit, because that's where we live. But any case, for me, the trailers were painful to watch because I remember the original and the two sequels, and I'm watching But I almost think, too, that after those first initial trailers came out, they tweaked this movie a bit. They trimmed some things or adjusted some things, it feels like, because some of those scenes, at least they seemed tighter in the film than they seemed in the trailer. So it almost feels like maybe they trimmed it up a bit. I don't know, but the movie surprised me, considering I was like you. The trailers were almost painful to watch. I just sighed every time it came up, going, and then I watched the movie, and yeah, you're right. It's not perfect. They don't bring out the jokes as rapid fire as a Zucker and Abrams film, but it's probably as close as we're ever gonna get to a Zucker Abrams film comedy again. I think it's as close as we've gotten since they did theirs.
Yeah, I think going back to that preview, one thing that I saw that was kind of surprising is there's a couple of gags in the trailers that are different than how they appear. A lot of folks complain about scenes being in the trailers that don't end up in the movie. In this case, there are a couple of scenes in the trailers that are in the movie, but the jokes are played out differently.
Right.
To a great surprise. It was kind of nice being in the theater and seeing and being surprised. There's a gag where Pamela Anderson's character goes into Drebin's office, and he says, take a seat. And in the trailer, she just marches right out of the office dragging a chair behind her. But in the movie, she says something like, no, thank you, I have plenty at home. And there's this whole 5-minute office scene. And then at the end, she says, on second thought, I think I will take a seat. And then so it still happens. But when you're watching the movie, you're like, wait a second, that punchline didn't hit. And I'm in uncharted territory now. And there was a lot of stuff in that office scene that was hilarious. I'm having trouble remembering what the the other gag was, but it was something very similar.
Well, there was one gag that I thought was lame in the trailer, but then when you see it in the movie, it's actually really funny, and that was the whole chili cheese dog gag.
Yes.
Because in the trailer, it's just like, oh, he's got to go to the bathroom. But in the movie, it's kind of like a derivation of the scene where Frank has to pee during the press conference and everyone can hear him. And in this situation, like everyone can see that he has to go to the bathroom and he abuses his power so he can go to the bathroom. Like he finds the one guy with like the drugs and the gun in his glove compartment. And he just goes, well, you seem like an all right person. I'm going to take off. And then he like goes in the restaurant and it keeps building up and building up and building up. And that's kind of like the humor of Naked Gun is that you don't just have a punchline and then you're done. You keep building up to the punchline and adding to it, kind of like when Drebin in the original breaks in to the bad guy's main office, and then the alarms go off, and then he's outside, and then he grabs a penis statue, and then he comes in with the big penis, and the girl's, which I mean, some parts of that joke doesn't age so well, especially when he touches a girl's boobs and it makes like a bop bop sound. But like but the thing is like that scene really showed that they understood the material. They understood, okay, let's have this joke, but then we keep adding to it, but we don't overdo it. And and that was the whole like funny thing behind it. Like the context behind the joke, what you saw in the movie was way better.
I think one of the things that is, I think, kind of brilliant about this remake, it's a requel, right? It is a legacy sequel, although it's weird to think that, I mean, I guess the ages kind of check out because, well, maybe they do, because Liam Neeson is like 73. I can't remember, how old was Leslie Nielsen when he passed away, and when did he die? Does anyone know offhand?
I don't know, but he did have that kid in Naked Gun 3 that looked like an old man when he was
had a kid.
So.
Maybe that's what it was, because I'm thinking, I don't know if the ages quite line up for Leslie Nielsen to be Liam Neeson's father, but maybe.
It was 2010, and he was 82 or 80.
Oh, okay. So if he had had Frank Jr. who was 9, maybe that works out. I don't know if the math right. I went to art college, but anyhow,
same here.
I think. But one of the things I think really works is that in a lot of these legacy sequels and remakes and requels, what they do is they take the beat for beat structure of the original source material and they just update it. Mm-hmm. And they don't really change anything. Sometimes it's the exact same gags, the same jokes, whatever, same references. Here, it is almost the exact same skeleton of a movie, from the kind of the cold open with it's the bank heist in this one versus Frank versus the Frank Sr. versus the evil leaders of the world in the original. You've got the meeting of the kind of femme fatale blonde. You've got the big climax at a sporting event. Here it's UFC versus a baseball game. But what I like is that it's partially the gags and partially the nature of the story that they're trying to tell. It's not obvious when you're watching the movie that you know which beats are coming up and how they're going to play out. Case in point, the montage that Katie mentioned from the original 88 is it's a pitch perfect montage, and it's very funny from beginning to end, especially I think it's the closer gag, or it's towards near the end, where you see Jane and Frank coming out of a movie theater laughing hysterically, and it pans up and the marquee says Platoon.
Well, and then they bookend that whole joke with the music video description on the very end of it, like it was a completely MTV music video from the montage. It's
But in this new version, there is another montage of the two main characters falling in love. And I think it's perfect because it's so different. And you can also tell that there's an authorial voice to it. You can tell that Seth MacFarlane was an executive producer, because eventually, towards the end of this montage, and we are talking spoilers, I got the banners up, they start reproducing the chicken suit fights from Family Guy, where if no one is familiar with it, Peter Griffin would get into fights with this guy who was in a chicken costume out on the street, and they would start fighting each other, and the gag would go on for like 3-4 minutes of screen time, way past it being funny and much into the annoying. It's kind of the cycle of like, it's funny, then it's annoying, then it's funny again, then it's annoying, and yada yada yada, and it's over. Here, Frank And okay, I keep forgetting Pamela Anderson's character's real name versus her fake name. So it's Beth Davenport is the character's real name, and her fake name is Cherry Roosevelt, fat guy eating spaghetti or something like that. But we'll just call her Beth for short. Beth and Frank Jr. They go on a couple of dates, and it's a montage that's just out of any other straight movie, and it's not funny. And I was thinking, okay, we're at the montage part, where's the jokes? This isn't working and I'm getting uncomfortable. And then they go up to a cabin in the woods during the winter time, and there's a snowman, and then they bring out, I think it's a Ouija board, and then you've got like
it's a
witchcraft book, and then there's mystical green energy emanating from it as they're chanting spells.
Oh yeah,
They're
I
mouthing
forgot about
spells
that.
underneath this love song that's playing, and then it turns into a nightmare where they're having to fight off this demonically possessed snowman, and it goes on and on and on and on, and it escalates. I'm like, this is Peter versus Chicken, and I love it because it's unexpected and it's different but similar enough. It shares a DNA with what we expect and love from the first movie, and that is all throughout this Naked Gun requel. So there is a reason to see it. It's not just I'm going to see the same gags all over again. Aside from, I mean, we do see the police siren kind of in an homage at the end, but did they repeat? Was there anything that you felt was repetitious of like, oh, they did this in the first one? Because I'm not thinking of any right now.
No, and that's what I really liked about it, is that they didn't do what Happy Gilmore 2 did, which is, oh, let's just repeat all the same jokes that you remember and tickle that nostalgia bone. No, instead they actually come up with new material. If there was like one thing I wish they did put back in, was the opening with the police siren going in just like absurd situations. Because that would have been a great opportunity to have it go into like new crazy situations, whatever you want to do with it. But outside of that, it was like, oh no, let's actually make new jokes, make them original, and we'll have slight derivations of the classic jokes where it's original enough where you won't notice that we're paying homage to it unless you're really paying attention.
Yeah, and I understand the siren thing, Mike, but I do appreciate what they did instead, which was that a spoof of big dumb action movie opening titles, where it's like The Naked, and then they run out of room on the screen with the G, and they have like gun like in vertical type underneath it. It's great. And even the bank heist that opens the movie, we see a little bit of that in the trailer, but it's expanded upon. There's a lot more funny material in it. Plus, the moment that I knew I was going to be okay happens about, I want to say, like a minute into the movie during the bank heist, when one of the bad guys goes into a vault to get out this thing, and on it says PLOT, plot device.
Yes. Yeah.
At that point, the theater, because Katie and Mike, you were at the screening, the theater like laughed, and it was almost like the release of a valve, like, okay, these people get it. This is the kind of movie that we're going to be watching. And like a couple minutes later, I think Frank throws a thug into a group of other thugs, and it makes the bowling ball or the bowling crash and
Fight
all that
signal.
stuff.
But my favorite gimmick of that whole thing is when he's using the one guy as a human shield, and they're firing at him, and then he throws the guy, which is a shitty dummy. He throws the guy towards him, and they keep shooting him instead of Frank. They keep shooting the guy, the shield.
And then there's like other great little subtle jokes where like they're looking at evidence at a crime scene, and Frank puts on the gloves not to put fingerprints on, and then he just uses his bare hand with the other one anyway.
Well, and I mean, like the inner monologue scene, like that's typical Police Squad, and one of my favorite. It's like when Frank is talking about Beth, it's like a bottom that would make any toilet beg for the brown. I was like, wow, that's some Shakespeare there.
I wrote that down too, Katie.
But then it's like when she walks away, then it's like he's starting his inner monologue again, and then all the other guys like, it's like, hey guys, hey, and I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Well, that's a playoff of the original gag when he's talking to Jane, and she goes, "Oh no, I like cops," and everybody in the office goes, "Oh, hey."
But again, Mark, to your point, it's almost like in another lesser comedy, they would have just played that gag again.
Right.
And here it's almost like they went through the Naked Gun original script and all the different scenarios and said, what can we do here that's different? Instead of just having them all fawn over her, how can we play into some of the stuff that we're already doing that's funny that people love, the internal monologue, and we'll go nuts on the on the dialogue track. Yeah, it's a brilliant scene. There's another one. I think my favorite gag was, and it's the one time I think we really see Liam Neeson crack in character, is he goes to investigate a car accident or a suicide by car or something, and there's a car at the bottom of this ravine, and the team comes and they do their business, and then Frank's like, okay, you can clear it out now. And you see the lift operator coming, and all of a sudden there's a wide shot of one of those giant mechanical claws coming down and picking up the car.
Yeah.
And he picks it up, and then it goes over to the frame, and then it drops it. As happens in all of those mechanical claw machine things, it falls to the ground, and Frank and everyone just go, oh, as you do with those claw machines. And I think Liam Neeson, I think he was kind of cracking up with everybody else. Katie, did we lose Katie? Am I the only one saying that?
She'll be back probably.
Okay.
Yeah, we did lose her for a moment, but
connection.
Okay, well, I just couldn't tell if that was my internet, because sometimes that's the first sign that I'm about to blip out. So
that's the other thing that they captured in this, and that's what always made these movies work. And I'm going to go back to it. Pardon my lawn. The 80s, and that is the fact that the gimmicks are in world. They're in real. They're not just gimmicks that the audiences experience. The characters in the movie are experiencing it. So, where you have the claw, you could have easily played it to where nobody really reacts to it. But you have the claw and it drops the car and everybody's like, ooh, and then he tries to go for it again. And then, people react to the gimmicks in the movie. It's not like the gimmicks are just for the audience, and that helps quite a bit kind of build this world of comedy, that all these characters live in, and that I think helps sell it a lot more than if it was just a gimmick for the audience and nobody in the movie actually acknowledged that gimmick.
Well, I think one of the other things, there's like a meta angle to that as well, that they kind of played with in the original Naked Gun, the original movies. Oh, hold on a second. I'm letting Katie back in. There you go. Hey, you're back with us.
Hey, my laptop just died, so I thought I had 5 more seconds. So sorry about that.
Well, we're talking about Naked Gun, so hopefully at least died laughing. But no, I was just talking about, or I was going to say, one of the things that the original Naked Gun, all 3 of those movies, although I don't remember who the villain was in the third movie, but
it's like that mob guy who lived with his mom.
Fred Ward.
Yeah, Fred Ward.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you had Ricardo Montalban, and then Robert Goulet, and then Fred Ward. People you didn't necessarily associate with these kind of villainous roles playing the heavy. In the new Naked Gun, they get Danny Houston, who's like, it's almost a joke, the fact that he was cast in this movie as the bad guy, because he's like the bad guy in everything, along with Kevin Durand is like his henchman. You don't even need to write anything about that. It just is funny by its nature. But we've been talking about this movie for 20 minutes. We haven't even really talked about what it's about, because as we discussed, the plot isn't essentially key here, but very similar to the plot of the original Naked Gun, there is a sort of a mind control device that the bad guy is trying to unleash upon the world. In this case, Danny Houston's character is like an Elon Musk sort of like billionaire inventor guy who has this plot device that, when activated, will send a signal to everybody who's not wearing special earplugs or something, and basically drive them into an animalistic state to create a murderous global pandemic of rage, very much 28 years later style. But he and his billionaire friends will escape to a series of bunkers, and they'll wait out the apocalypse while being entertained by, and here's a great reference back to the original film, Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah.
Although I'm
I think
I'm a
Weird Al
little
was
I'm a
free,
little
sure.
bothered by the fact that Weird Al Yankovic would agree. I mean, I guess it's a gig and he'd be safe,
a
but
gig.
like,
It's
is he
a
gonna
gig.
be like siding with the evil billionaires? I don't.
By the
Well,
way,
he
like
even
Weird
call-
Al doesn't age. He looks the same now.
He
It's really
does. He
weird.
does just
Yeah.
about. Well, he even
Crazy.
calls them evil billionaires, though. So I mean, Al recognizes who it is, but it's a gig, and hey, it's a gig in a bunker, and he's going to live. So you don't blame Weird Al for taking that gig.
Yeah.
You know?
I would never call Weird Al a sellout, but I don't have to because you just described him as one. Now, in the context of the movie, all
Within the
respect to
context,
Mr.
yeah.
Yankovic.
Here's the thing, though. It's that whole plot of the movie. Honestly, that was one of my biggest negatives of the film, because basically they just stole the plot of the original Kingsman.
Oh,
That is like shot. That's, plot for plot. That is the point of the Kingsman. It's that they turn on a little switch. Everyone kills each other. The billionaires are in a bunker. The number one billionaire has all the stuff. Even though these billionaires, at least the billionaires in Kingsman, had jets, these, I guess, have little mopeds that they can't ride because they're billionaires, which was really, really funny. When they just kept crashing and all that. And then, and then the conclusion, which is Drebin, against Danny Houston, which the fight with Drebin and Danny Houston was honestly my favorite part of the film. When he punches him in the stomach and he has a reaction, and it's like, oh my God, you hit my belly.
Yeah, why there?
Like,
Never been in a fight before? Yeah.
Have you never been in a fight before? That I could not stop giggling at that for like a good few minutes afterwards, because that to me was like one of the most sincerest performances when Danny Houston did that. Like he just really acted like he's never been hit before, and that was so funny.
I think the joke that really landed it for me, and the thing is, I said, "Oh, this is nice that this is a lighthearted comedy." It's probably one of the darkest jokes in the movie, if not the darkest. Is when Frank's trying to find someone, and he talks to this guy like in a nightclub, and the guy
The
says
bartender.
to him, "You killed my brother." He goes, "Well, I killed a lot of people." And he goes, "He was white."
Oh.
Oh, you're that guy. Like
Yeah.
immediately.
There was a few steps more in that joke before you got to that punchline, which really sold it. And there was a great reaction in the theater there, and that was part of another gag where Drebin was kind of abusing the guy by slamming his head against the bar, and his head would come back up and it'd be in a different kind of like cartoon putty position until the last one was actually Liam Neeson looking at himself. The first 20 minutes, I think, are the strongest of the film, and then the middle section is still very strong. It gets a little bit, the dip in the jokes begins, I think, around the third act, to the point where that I don't think the original Naked Gun suffered from. And if my one real criticism of the movie is that they sort of focus more on the plot and the resolution and making more of an action comedy more than a spoof movie. So it kind of picks up, at the end, particularly with the kind of whole resort gag, and they finally bring back the police squad bit of everybody kind of being freeze framed except for certain key elements in the background. That was nice to see again. But the one thing that was really surprising to me was Pamela Anderson in this role. People are saying Liam Neeson is a revelation. I think because he's done this kind of the straight-laced comedy thing. I think he did a bit on Extras, maybe with Ricky Gervais.
Life's Too Short, where he's supposed to do improv, but every scene he just tells him he has AIDS.
Right,
So,
that's what it was.
He also did one where he was like in a supermarket line or whatnot, and he did a kind of a joke there too. I think in a commercial or something.
And he was also
in Ted.
Ted, and also in
Once Upon a Time in the West, or like the Seth MacFarlane comedy on Westerns. Yeah,
that's what it was. And so it's not surprising to see them, because this is again a MacFarlane joint. It's not surprising to see them collaborating together. And much like Leslie Nielsen, Liam Neeson, all he had to do was kind of play it straight. And he's done a number of these kind of cop roles, especially in a lot of the Lionsgate, even direct to video movies he's been doing in the last, decade plus, which I don't blame him for, because a lot of those have been hilariously entertaining, but not nearly as much as this. But no, Pam Anderson was great, and it's cool to see her in this phase where she's called upon to stretch and do something really comedic. I will say the nightclub scene where she's kind of vamping on stage, I thought that was funny for about 15 seconds, and then I was more entertained by seeing Danny Houston break as the kind of the hard-nosed evil villain guy, but he's totally enamored with her singing jazz, and he's like getting all goofy, and his hair's all out of sorts. That was the surprise for me.
What's great about that, though, is everybody else looking at each other like, is anyone going to get her off stage? So the rest of the audience in the bar is with the audience in the theater. You're supposed to be like, you're like, wait, is she done yet? But mad props to Pamela Anderson for just taking this role when, I really liked her in what was the Showgirl?
The last Showgirl.
I really liked her in that. I thought that was a fairly bold role for her to take after being away for so long, and then taking this, especially after kind of being out of the scene as well, was kind of a bold choice, but in a good way, because it's like with Priscilla Presley in the original. You don't think of her, but she does have enough chops to keep pace with Liam Neeson in this, especially when you get to the scene of, you took my TiVo that had my entire season
of Buffy. That was so funny.
I didn't like that bit.
Oh,
because I get it, and it's one of those things. I kind of had the same. That was a joke from the trailer reaction for me, because when I would watch the trailers, there were a couple of gags where I thought, that's cute, but I didn't laugh. It was an intellectual thing. We're like, it's clever, but it's not funny. That whole TiVo joke, that to me was almost the Peter versus chicken, but in the way it's in the annoying stretch where it's like, I know you really want this joke to happen, Seth / Akiva / whoever wrote this, but it's about 10 years too late because it's TiVo. And like, even I had a roommate who had TiVo, and I don't even think I knew about that whole thing of like, if you connect it to the internet, it'll erase all your shows. That's like a niche within a niche joke. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Katie, but I was watching it as like, okay, I'm ready to hopscotch past this one.
I think like part of the joke is the fact that, like Liam Neeson's 73 and he's still using TiVo while everyone's using the internet. Yeah.
I liked it because of the Buffy reference. Anything that has a Buffy reference, I'm going to be like, mwah, thank you.
Yeah, out of all the shows you would think Frank Drebin Jr. would be watching, Buffy's not one.
Yeah.
And I love him for that. I love that he was bringing up Xander. I love that he brought up Willow and all that stuff. I mean, he's speaking my language. I was disappointed though that two things that really disappointed me in the film is that they didn't have Priscilla Presley in more than just a quick glance at her. And I thought they could have done more with that. I mean, she's just, and especially since not many people from the Naked Gun series are actually still alive.
Yeah.
And which is really depressing considering it's not that long ago. But the other thing that I thought I really wish they would have done something with is technically Frank Drebin Jr. is supposed to be like 31 if we go from when the movies go. It's like he would have been born like in 93, 94. So I feel like that would have been something that would have been really funny. It's like, this cop life really wears me down. It's like, it's like for a 31-year-old man living on his own, it's like 31. Holy crap. I just thought that's, that was a miss that they could have really done something with. But like you were saying, I thought Pamela Anderson was freaking fantastic. To me, she was the best. She was one of the best parts of this movie. I didn't think there was a single thing. And the one scene that really reminded me of Police Squad was when they were talking about, it's like, I came to school here. It's like UCLA. It's like, oh, I see it all the time. I live here. I'm like, that is like,
Yes.
that is like, that's
Play on
Police
words.
Squad language, like to a T. That's
Right.
airplane stuff. Like that is I just wish it had a little bit more of,
Right.
because that to me, that's what I was wanting, and that's what I was loving. And I'm glad she delivered that line and delivered it to perfection.
That was reminiscent of the airplane gag where Ted Stryker is trying to describe the difficulties of flying a jet, and he says it's a completely different kind of flying altogether. And then the other two people say
Like,
in unison,
it's a completely different kind of
flying.
Yeah, no, and they do have those elements. I'm with Katie. I do wish there was a few more of that. And again, that's what made all of those parodies from Abrams, Zucker, and Zucker so good, is the wordplay more so than the physical gimmicks that just make you laugh, because those are the ones that make your head click. You get the sight gags, those are easy. But when you get the word, the play on words, you're just like, oh, that's, you get it on that level. And they do have those moments more than I thought they would in this new one, but I would have liked to see a few more. But when they do happen, oh, it just takes me right back. I'm like, this is a naked gun.
I'm gonna kill someone. Who's gonna arrest me? The police? Yes, Frank.
Oh, that was the sting, the cop sting Inception.
Yeah,
they're constantly busting each other, and there's fake walls collapsing all around them.
Did you get all that?
I loved it because there was a race against time where they had to get to the UFC fight to stop the bomb or the device going off, and it took them an hour to get there because they kept arresting each other.
Yeah, I mean, for a film that is a requel to a 30-year-old IP, since the last one, this one I think captured most of the spirit, the most you could ask for a modern comedy to do. The fact you could see the effort of them really trying hard to make it fit within that universe, and I think they do it well. Just going back real quick to the OJ joke, I saw an interview with the director who talked about it, and he said, because he's like, we'll just address the elephant in the room. He's like, we only did the one joke. He's like, and we did that on purpose. He goes, because we could have written it in a few more times, but he's like, we acknowledged it and we moved on. And he's like, and that really hit with audiences. So they didn't put any more of the jokes that they had maybe thought of maybe doing a few more of. They're like, because that was it. And I agree. That's the one thing this requel does that some others don't, is that it's like they have the weeping scene that you saw in the trailer where everybody's crying over their dads, and all the dads are former cast members from the original. And then they move on to their own thing. And I liked that. They didn't keep going back to the original. They, the referencing them constantly. They reference it. They're like, hey, look, this is where this takes place in this world. Let's move on. We're in this world. We're in this time period now. And that's what I appreciate with it.
Yeah, and it's so good they did that, because they could have obsessed on O.J. Simpson and made O.J. Because originally they were going to make a fourth one with Leslie Nielsen, and I think there's a lot of titles for it, but one of the titles was Nordberg Did It, and they didn't go with that. And I think if it was focused on Nordberg's son and there was some sort of thing where he's trying to come to terms with his father, it wouldn't work. It was great that they just threw it away and they said, okay, we all know what happened. Let's continue on with the story.
And they get it out of the way at the very beginning of the picture, because one of the things that does, even I think subconsciously, if you keep bringing it up throughout this, slapstick weird comedy, is reminding people that there's a double homicide in the backstory of this movie. And that's not funny. And even if you're like, well, maybe he didn't do it, or maybe he did, and is he dead now? He had this weird thing with golf. you lock in on the movie at hand instead of all this kind of psychic baggage. Before we get to comments, because we got a bunch of them, one person we haven't mentioned is the kind of one of the summer MVPs comedically is Paul Walter Hauser playing Ed Jr.
Yes,
he was great as Mole Man in Fantastic Four a couple of weeks ago, and here he's great as sort of the straight man to Liam Neeson's Frank Jr. But it's just so cool to see him and to see his evolution as an actor, because I mostly remember him as being in kind of straight serious roles and dramas and things, and now he's kind of having a comedy renaissance.
Yeah, no, he made a great companion. He made a great counter to Frank Drebin Jr. I liked him. He was just like his dad as far as character goes in that respect, to where he gets a few of his moments as well, his jokes as well, but he has to be more of the straight man for Frank, because that's where that comedy comes in. It's the Abbott and Costello, it's the like I said, it's the Marx Brothers and everybody else in the film. It's like you need those straight people, because that helps make comedy work. If everybody's funny in the film, that takes away some of the underlying humor of it, because you're just like, oh, this is an entire joke world. Whereas here, when you get the electric car, when he gets the electric car and he drives away and it's just pulling out, it just
and the great line, "The city is tearing apart." It's like, you did it.
But again, that's a very similar gag to the luggage transport from the original film. But you do that, and then you find a way to build off of it. It's not just ripping out the electric car's charging station; it's the entire wall, and then the prisoners get out, and that's funny. And then Frank is like, "This town is falling apart." It's just, yeah. Has everyone here seen Pop Star Never Stopping?
It's been recommended. I need to see it.
Yeah. It's great, and it's it's Schaffer and the rest of the Lonely Island trio, which includes Andy Samberg from SNL, and they did some great shorts. I mean, that trio has done some fantastic music parodies, a lot of them for SNL. And if folks aren't familiar with them, they did I'm on a Boat. They did Jack Sparrow, the Michael Bolton parody. This is all going back 10, 15 years.
They did Jizz in My Pants. Yeah.
And they're not only funny ha-ha songs, but they're really well put together music and music videos. So highly recommended if you haven't seen them. But yeah, that same spirit keeps on here, and they're kind of the perfect group to do this kind of material. But I was also surprised that they didn't just spend the entire thing doing kind of like modern gross out gags. It's surprisingly faithful.
And just one more thing, I know you got comments and such, we're going a little long, but I think one of the other things that adds the comedy to films like this and makes those ones that we've mentioned already tonight stand is they put effort behind the production. If you look at The Naked Gun, this most recent one, it's similar to the ones that it's riffing off of, or that it comes from its origins, in that those films did not skimp on budget or production or design, not just cast, but just sets and everything. And that's what makes it, if it feels like more of a regular movie than just being a series of comedy stage sketches, that adds that extra layer of humor, because you're like, I can get into this because it feels like a real movie, not just, hey, we didn't put a lot of production effort into it, like some of those movies, like the Not Another Whatever or Epic Movie or one of those, where those have such a low budget that you're just like, wow, they shot this like, just on a stage. And here too, you got sets and everything. They make a real movie, which I think adds another layer.
Yeah, it's like the bank scene in the beginning. It comes off like a thriller, and immediately when he turns into, when the girl turns into a grown ass Irish dude, you're like, oh, okay, I'm in it. Like it shifts tone, but it doesn't feel like it's being forced.
It's got, it definitely has that mid 90s Michael Bay kind of feel. It was shot by Brandon Trost, who's some sharp work here, but I mean, he did Sonic the Hedgehog, those movies, and the only one of them I've seen was Sonic 3. I saw that last year, and I was surprised at how good a movie that was, like legitimately, fun, and it looked great. But someone on X, I think, had put up some frames of this movie and mentioned how it looked like it was the same DP as Basic Instinct, that kind of like early 90s thriller, and playing it, to your point, Mark, like a serious, like an actual movie. I think with Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad from 1988, they were keeping more in line with the look of Police Squad.
Right.
And Police Squad was probably aping more of the kind of 70s cop show procedurals, was sort of like looked like that. The 80s, you got more grim and gritty with Hill Street Blues and things like that. And now, of course, everything looks like it's CSI, because everything is kind of CSI.
It's the only thing left on TV.
No, every movie looks the same now these days because they use the same color grading, but that's going to require a whole 10-minute rants I won't get into. Yeah.
SVU is still on. SVU is still on.
Like, Happy Gilmore 2 looked like House of Cards. It was literally shot by the guy who did House of Cards.
Well, there's a reason why Netflix all looks the same.
Yeah.
And speaking of Netflix, that is Cody Rhodes, the wrestler who is the bartender in Naked Gun, who did the cameo. So you've got two wrestlers in this. You got Dave Bautista at the end. You got as the stand-in, and then you've got Cody Rhodes, who played the bartender. So
I forgot about the stand-in gag. There's just too much to keep track of in this movie. Damn it. All right, let's pull over and do some comments here real quick. We'll do rapid fire so we can get folks back to, bed at this point. All right. Sajiwa says, I saw 2 summer movies, FF, 6 out of 10, New Jurassic Park, 5.5 out of 10. Neither are great. Let's see if this movie is funny / great. Well, I hope you see it, and I hope you find it good. Show is on. I had a video on about racism and this window in the background, and it came on. All right. Interesting low-key dynamic lighting with blonde in front person. I think they were talking about your
laptop shot. Yeah.
The laptop shot. Yeah. You're much
blonde in front person. Yes.
Honestly, the phone has.
Since you hang out with us so much lately, you should know it's Katie, blonde in front person.
It's blonde in front eating spaghetti while sitting at a table.
Yeah. Yes, with low lighting and a beaver on her lap. Yeah.
Hey, no judgment. I think Slasher Fred says, I think what made The Naked Gun a classic comedy is that it came out during one of the most citywide detectives, when most citywide detectives were always portrayed as those no-nonsense characters. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So says, time to go get some ice cream and drop in a town hall meeting. Be back.
Is he going to bring the ice cream to the town hall meeting?
Yeah.
I hope you brought enough for everyone.
I like to think he's at a town hall meeting eating ice cream and showing this presentation or this live stream. The original 3 cast, Slasher Fred says, from the trilogy, Leslie Nielsen, George Kennedy, and O.J. Simpson, have each been in 3 iconic 70s disaster movies: Airport, The Towering Inferno, and The Poseidon Adventure. Great point.
Indeed.
On the series Police Squad, they always made fun of the freeze frame end credits. Yes, they did.
Yes, I wish they would have done that in this too. I miss that.
Well, they kind of did it at the end
when everyone froze, and then they're like, "What's going on? Why is everyone frozen? Who are you guys looking at us?" Yeah,
it wasn't handled quite as good, but I was happy they at least did that gimmick. Still, the best ones were at the end of the actual episodes, like one where they're filling a coffee cup, and another one where they're just about to arrest a perp, and everybody freeze framed, and the perp is looking, and he's like, and everybody else is freeze framed, and he escapes. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Both Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy have each been in Creepshow 1 and 2. Was George Kennedy in Creepshow 2? I haven't seen that one in forever. So
yeah. Who is he in Creepshow 2?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. Did you know that the series Police Squad was also a spoof of the 70s TV series Streets of San Francisco? And the opening introduction is a spoof of it. Yep. 89%. Situa says, critics on RT, pretty good, not too far from the new Hong Sang-soo at 100% category. Yes, but Situa, as we've discussed ad nauseum, Hong Sang-soo, who not only will never be discussed on this podcast again, but I don't believe those ratings.
Amen to that.
One of my favorite scenes in the original movie was when Frank is chasing the bad guy and he gets into a driver's ed car,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
being monitored
Now
by
quickly
John
insert
Houseman.
your middle finger.
Yeah. Who's just the
Which,
most.
that was his last movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Really?
was.
Yeah,
sad.
I just read that on IMDb, which I did not. I mean, I can believe it after rewatching the film. Like, he doesn't look that great, but I can't believe, like, seriously, John House, that's his last film. That's crazy to me.
They don't
And who
talk
knew-
about finances. They earned them. Anyway, sorry.
Well,
There's
John
a deep
Houseman-
cut for you.
Yes. What is that from, by the way?
It was one of the commercials. He did the financiers commercials, the investors.
Oh, was it like E.F. Hutton or something?
Yeah, E.F. Hutton. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. One of my favorite scenes from the original movie was when Frank is chasing the bad guy and he gets, oh, we read
Yep,
that. Sorry.
yeah.
I'm loopy.
It-
One of Leslie Nielsen's earliest roles was Forbidden
Mhm.
Planet, which became
Yeah.
the inspiration
Wow.
for Star Trek. And of course, the movie stars Ricardo Montalban, who played Khan in the episode Space Seed.
Forbidden Planet's awesome. I love Forbidden Planet.
That's a blind spot for me. I got to fix
Forbidden.
that.
That's the first. That was the first appearance of Robbie the Robot, I believe.
Yep.
Which would later make
Forbidden Planet.
but-
That's the is that the French animation one? where
No,
it's like
no,
all
you're
over-
No,
thinking
no, no.
fantastic. You're
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
of
okay, yeah,
Fantastic
yeah.
Planet. That's a completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a few seconds of that. I'm like, this is what the fuck. Yeah, but anyway.
Montalban later reprised his role for Wrath of Khan. Yes, he did.
Khan.
Sedua says now is the time to do airplane treatment with dinosaur movies, not another dinosaur island. You know
Land
what?
Before Time.
That would work.
That- That would work because there's too much material in those Jurassic movies not to make it hilarious. Slasher Fred says if you guys ever see the movie Back to the Beach,
Yep.
which was the final
Yep.
movie in the Beach Party movies from the 60s, that movie's a spoof. It's also his uncredited appearances by O.J. Simpson.
Yep,
Wow.
he's in there briefly.
Airplane is also a spoof of remake of 0 Hour, which I have not
Mhm.
seen. The original also has a reference to Dirty Harry. There's a scene where Frank says, "I shoot the
The bastard.
bastard, and that's my policy."
That reminds me of
Yeah.
Casino Royale when one of the characters dies. He says the bee is dead.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He's on
that's
the boat.
that's Vesper Lind. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
It's amazing how the original movie came out a year after The Untouchables, which was also based on a TV show. And of course, in the third movie, they spoofed the shootout at the train station.
Yeah,
And all
do.
that
Mhm.
eats
Wonderful.
it itself, doesn't it? This is going back to our trailer talk. Sajua says often trailers are using different takes to meet deadlines. Actual films are edited until the
Oh,
last minute in some cases. Right. Who's that dude behind Mike? He hasn't moved at all.
Oh,
On your
I'm
back,
keeping
right?
him trapped. Yeah.
It'd be great if he was pouring a beer that just never stopped.
It's stuck
Getting
midair.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, it's like the freeze frame pro police squad.
Yeah,
exactly. These two movies sound interesting. We'll check them out.
Hey,
Oh.
Stream Boo.
Streamboo, best viewers on streamboo.com. Remove the space. Thank you. Loved Mavericky for dropping in from Twitch. I'll
Always
check out
great,
that link
yeah.
right after this, I promise.
That can't be fake at all.
No,
No,
it's not
no.
a bot at all.
He's not
no.
seen the Naked Gun 88 yet.
That part's true. Get thee to a streaming service, did you? It's a
Yeah.
comedy classic.
Because otherwise you won't understand this.
You know, it's weird because Katie, you were mentioning, oh, those beavers, these eyes are really shiny. That sounded strange, but yeah.
although I'm really not gonna, I can't remember when my kids' names sometimes, and I can't remember my kids' birthdays sometimes, but by God, I can remember the position of the beaver and let you know that the position of the beaver is wrong in the requel than it is in the movie, because in the movie, when he takes it down, the beaver, you're seeing the left side of it and it's turned right. And the movie of with Liam Neeson, he's turning to his left instead of his right. Anyway,
So you're saying they messed up the beaver shot. I hate
they
it when
messed
that
up the
happens.
they missed
Messed
the
up the
beaver
beaver.
shot.
Yeah. But no, Katie, I was going to say to your point earlier, I love that light.
So cool.
Priscilla Presley got as much screen time in this movie as the beaver.
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
blink and you'll miss it cameo. It's so strange.
I know, and I think that's like ridiculous. It actually made me really, really mad that she didn't get more time. I thought that was very rude.
It's weird that they showed her at all because it makes me wonder if there was something that got cut out or what.
What
Because
was
that's,
she even reprising her character in that cameo? I
Yes.
can't
I
remember.
don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
It's-
she's
well,
gone.
well,
Go
it's-
ahead.
It was so brief. Like I might have been looking at my notes. I didn't even notice.
Well, it's during the scene during the UFC fight when Frank's like showing his ass to the world and showing all these reactions from people watching television. It is Priscilla Presley. I have to assume that it's Jane because why else?
Yeah.
They don't specifically call her out, and I think he makes one reference to his mother in the movie somewhere. But yeah,
He makes a reference to his mom when he gets into the secret area where you can see the backup tapes of when Beth's brother was in the nightclub, and then he goes down the stairs and falls down the stairs, and there are two henchmen there, and then his phone rings and he makes a comment that it's like, Mom, I'm at work. Okay, yeah, I'll call you later, which I'm like, that was kind of dumb.
A missed opportunity, like when his pants fell down, everyone saw it. It would have been funny. They cut to her and she's like, "That's my boy," but they didn't do that.
No, it makes me wonder if some of her scenes did end up hitting the cutting room floor so that they could trim it for time. That could be the case with it. You know, sometimes it happens with these cameos like that they end up cutting those scenes. Unfortunately, yeah, it would have been nice to see more of her in it. But that scene too was another, besides the play on words, was one of the classic Zucker gags, is that it's shooting it like a regular scene. You know, he's sneaking past the guys, and then he falls out of frame and you hear this crashing, and then you watch the two guys turn and you go, oh, there was a staircase there. You know, playing on your expectations is what makes these films work so well, is because they take your expectation and then they spin it on its head.
There was another visual gag where I think it's the first time that Neeson meets Houston's character, and they're in that kind of like that gallery or that lab where he's showing off his technology, and then Frank Drebin Liam Neeson goes to like leave, and he exits the frame, but then he comes back in the complete opposite direction.
How do I get out of here? Yeah.
One joke that I just gotta give props to, because if I'd been drinking, I would have spit it out. When Danny Houston is sitting down with Pam Anderson and he's trying to woo her at the club, and he offers her a drink and she drinks it, and he says, "That's from Bill Cosby's private collection."
Oh yeah,
and she spits it right out. She just, you know.
It's funny. I was just watching Animal House today for my podcast.
Oh,
and oh my God, some of those jokes do not age well. Like there's the whole like good angel, bad angel, like Bill Cosby statutory rape like scene where I'm like, oh shit,
not good.
Yeah.
But speaking of time, we are just about the runtime of the movie we are discussing. So we're going to get out of here. Folks, I really appreciate you hanging out and watching us talk about The Naked Gun 1988 and Naked Gun 2025. Normally I'm kind of annoyed when these legacy sequels or requels just adopt the same name as the others, but the opening credits sight gag alone of what they do with that font treatment, I think that gives the whole thing a pass. So if you're on the fence about it, I think we're kind of unanimously here saying go out and see this movie. We'll understand if you wait for streaming, but then again, if you go see it, you'll have the benefit of seeing a really fun comedy in a hopefully packed theater, or at least a theater there's a few other people, so you can get that communal kind of joy, and you'll send a message that, hey, we want to see more solid comedies like this in theaters, because something's got to replace these comic book movies which are crashing and burning. But anyway, if you like this live stream, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and please support all of Earth's Mightiest critics. Their information is down below, but we're going to outro them anyway. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Mike Crowley of You'll Probably Agree, Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, and also Enrico Palazzo, aka Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room Podcast. Katie, I'll fight you for that light. I promise. It's
That
so
thing's
cool.
gonna go up for a lot on eBay.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I'm keeping it.
Nice.
There you go.
But, So next week is going to be a very different kind of discussion. Wednesday night, the 13th, Wednesday the 13th, 8 p.m. Central. We're going to be back here talking about weapons. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are high in this movie. I know at least one person who is decidedly not. I'm not going to say who it is.
I'm kind of in agreement
think
with
it's
him.
you.
I just thought it was okay.
Well, hold on. I think do the old Jimmy Carson.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carson, was that
or
Johnny's
Johnny-
brother? No.
Johnny Carson. Do the Johnny Carson thing. Ian. Yeah, there we go. No.
In all fairness, I
Well-
want to set the stage. I was very excited to see Weapons, and then I did. So anyway,
Ooh,
next
there's a
week-
wonderful
Oh.
teaser. That's a
That's a
great
cliffhanger.
teaser.
Now, that's
Yeah.
a teaser, man.
All right. So yeah, everybody, thank you again very much. All the people who commented, and if you're watching this live or on the replay, we really appreciate it. And yep, one last shot of the beaver. Thank you, Katie. This is gonna be really bizarre for the people who are just listening to the
One
audio
last
version.
shot of my beaver. There you go.
We're talking about the popcorn bucket. The popcorn bucket.
Sure.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, that too.
Anyway, we're gonna let it go there tonight. Thank you very much, and yeah, take care. Wow.